Welcome and hello and welcome, guys. Welcome and hello. It's a Monday twofer on Un Poco Moss, the show where we give you just a little bit more. My name is Tabasco Rojas, former Montreal Expos relief pitcher. Hold on, guys. Let me get a little bit of water. Probably should have done that before I started, but live and learn. Anyway, guys, it is Un Poco Moss, the show where we try to give you just a little bit more. They call me Little Danny Cornbread DiCarlo, and you're asking yourself, well, why do they call him cornbread? Well, I'll tell you. It's because I'm moist, I'm doughy, and I crumble under pressure. They call me the tugboat. They call me Stock Karen because I'm a huge Karen and I enjoy stocks. They call me Hurricane Lopez because I look really funny on the tennis court. I'm moving around, kind of spinning all around, falling down. And my friend, whose name is Lopez, dubbed me Hurricane Lopez about 35 years ago, and it stuck. So they call me Hurricane Lopez. They call me DJ Patchy Drizzle because I know how to throw a wet blanket over a party and get everybody home safe. Make sure nobody's having any sex after that party, if you know what I mean. Not drinking more than 0 alcoholic beverages. They call me... What else? I can't remember what else they call me. Stubby Cohiba. That was due to a manscaping accident with a Vitamix. Anyway, guys, I'm going to dispense with the pleasantries and just say welcome and hello and welcome. It's Un Poco Moss because I'm very tired. I'm cranky. As I noted earlier, I'm a huge Karen. But I have a lot of people coming at me, from this direction or that way. I got a southpaw coming at me, just, dotting me on the chin, knocking me out, getting me on the butt, and just saying, hey, Danny, you're a big fat idiot. You got us into prop, you got us into IOVA, were you wrong? They both dropped. And so I'm just going to address those scurrilous rumors. No, it's a fair point, believe me. I didn't buy them intending for the price. I try to catch the bottom, which is foolish. Most anybody who knows what they're doing will say, just wait for the stock to bottom, wait for clear confirmation that it's going up, and then buy. And yeah, you will cut off a little bit of the upside, but you'll cut off a lot of the downside, and you'll be far better off, playing that sort of IBD swing trade game. And, if you're into a market smith or whatever, that's fine. Me, myself, I love the pain and I try to catch the bottom. But I just wanted to talk about why I like these setups and why I like these two in particular and why I doubled down on them today. And again, I am going to try to go pretty quickly because I know some of you endured my earlier video on SoFi, and that was, pretty painful day for SoFi. But I just price action never bothered Jimmy. It's just like, it is what it is, guys. I mean, SoFi was 5 and then it was in the 30s and now it's in the 20s, and over time, none of that matters. If your long-term fundamentals will take over, EPS will take over, SoFi is going to rapidly increase their, gap net profit, and that EPS number is going to start to really sing. And I think people are going to see that. But looking at the setup, basically, I would say IOVA is one of the most undervalued cancer stocks in all of biotech. And prop is trading at an extremely low multiple compared to its peer group. And people are going to say, well, that's because a ton of dilution is coming. I'm talking about even accounting for fully diluted share count, which I don't think is going to be nearly as bad as people think, because I think their cash flow is going to be sufficient next year to get out ahead of some of those, Series T shares, or I forget, but I've looked all this up, believe me. I have people much smarter than me doing my due diligence and such. I'm just a figurehead, guys. I'm just a figurehead. I'm just a patsy. I'm just the guy who takes the fall when it all goes wrong. When the SEC comes knocking at the door, like, hey, this was all Danny's idea. I'm like, what? Tacos? They're like, yeah, this guy has more tacos. Go with him. I'm like, oh, we're going to keep trading. We got a Zoom coming up with Sam Bankman-Fried. But anyway, guys, what's going on, Baltimore? I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you in your big pink hand there. Like a degenerate gamble, my only real report is going to be called prop, but at least I have shares. Yeah, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. Us degenerates, we got to stick together. No, SMCX price action honestly doesn't bother me at all, because I think the catalyst is the next earnings report. Now, it can go all over the place until then, but what I want to see is what's in that next earnings report. Same with SoFi. Like, after the, coming into the last earnings report, it was at 31. I think it's going to be higher than that coming into the next earnings report. And that's only like 6 weeks away, because I think the next earnings report is going to be even better than the previous one, because I think we're going to start to see this EPS ramp momentum with SoFi. Now, okay, what do I like about these stocks? Prop and IOVA. I like this setup technically, but I also like the fact that all they have to do is execute on a clear plan that's already there, and the stock is undervalued. You're going to make money. Like, it's not some rabbit they have to pull out of their hat. It's not some, extraordinary development that's not already there. So, what do I look for? I look for this very controlled algorithmic walk down that then you clearly see a bottom and you see it turn to this sort of sideways and upward motion usually. Sometimes it can just be sideways, but you see this tapered walk down. I mean, this was just extraordinary because the algo was working for a long time, but you see this tapered walk down from up here at 12 or whatever it is. You see the stock, clearly bottom out down here below $1.50 and then sort of start to move up and sideways. I don't think there's a lot of ambiguity on this one. Now with prop, the setup is a little less, I would say, defined in terms of the walk down was a lot more messy and a lot more volatility, a lot more peaks and valleys. But at the end of the day, it was still, testing this line coming down perfectly. And at a certain point, there's just no more room to go down. I mean, you're not going to walk this thing down below zero. So it begrudgingly starts to make the turn. And then it's basically bottoming out, I would say, right at this level. So it's kind of all-time low today. Now you say, well, what kind of fool would buy a stock that's going down and is at an all-time low? Well, this fool. Because I believe the fundamentals are just so, out of whack with the stock. They're pulling the resources out of the ground. They're getting good prices for them. They're increasing production. They've got the Bayswater stuff online. They're making old wells more efficient. I mean, when I listen to management, everybody's like, oh, these guys are frauds. They're just coming in. I don't really see that. I see them trying to acquire undervalued assets, increase the production, be extremely efficient with their money, with their drilling. So I just don't understand what the big, problem is. The big problem people see is dilution, but I don't think they're going to get to that fully diluted share count. Opinions vary, but you just have to see. I mean, someone in a comment was noting, if they come into next year, they're doing 30,000 barrels a day, they're going to have a huge amount of free cash flow to, buy back those shares. So I guess you just have to see, what do you think about that? But the technical setup, I think looks very good. Now with Iovance, let's go back here. What was the volume today? Volume today was sort of normal, weak, 9 million. Hopefully I didn't mute my mic, but anyway, on the chart, so you see massive upside versus current price. Like DCF models have Iovance anywhere from I've seen 19 to 30. Consensus seems to land in the high 20s. Also, analysts have it, usually 6 to 20, which really doesn't mean anything, but it's just a data point because some of these analysts are pretty good in this space and they really get down into the weeds, the details. And a lot of them were PhD people in the biotech space, researchers, grad students, whatever, who just didn't like the money in science, didn't like the thankless, nameless thing, and decided, hey, I'm going to go into investment banking. And then for whatever course of events transpired, they got on drugs or something at an unplanned pregnancy, and they ended up as an analyst at one of these small analyst houses working on biotech's penny stocks. So they have first mover advantage. Sorry, I had some notes here, guys. I was so tired, but solid tumor cell therapy. So they're approved for Amtagvi, advanced melanoma, validated decades of research. Unlike CAR-T therapies limited to blood cancer, these TIL therapies target solid tumors, which is projected to exceed 40 billion by 2030. And again, I was noting this is some combination of I don't know, Chat GTP, Copilot, then with my notes scribbled all over it. But so DCF models show deep undervaluation. This was saying intrinsic value 27.89 per share, meaning the market is pricing an extreme risk that may not materialize, and there's a 92% undervaluation gap. That might be a bit extreme, but maybe not. I mean, really, maybe not. This could be a very, very valuable company, and I think the algorithmic walk down was just taking it to absolute zero, regardless of the fair or intrinsic value of the company or anything else. So prop analyst price target implies 3 to 4 times upside, strong operational momentum, Q3 showed 15% revenue growth. Adjusted EBITDA growth was a record, up 45% quarter over quarter. Recent acquisitions expanded acreage, boosted production capacity, setting up for sustained growth. The valuation disconnect versus peers, trading at a price to sales ratio of 0.6x, far below other peers, which usually trade anywhere from. This space is all over the place, but it could be 4, it could be 6, it could be 10, could be even more. It just depends, on the asset, but most of it depends on like the capital and share structure, because however you acquire these assets, the debt, the convertible, whatever it is, that's sort of the poison pill. That's the devil's in the details with these companies. It's like a lot of people are capable of drilling and getting oil and gas out of the ground, and you're going to sell it at a certain price, and you've got the right crew, and you've got seasoned, disciplined management. But the key is, how do you buy these assets and how do you finance those acquisitions so that you end up with this, mountain of free cash flow that you return to shareholders? That's basically the game here. It's not GAAP net profit, it's cash flow. And I think props management, this Ed Kovlicek guy, he seems quite smart to me. Someone was suggesting that I have him on for an interview, but I don't know if he's going to want to come on and talk to the big dummy. But no, we'll see. That would be great. But again, everything is set up here. I mean, another thing I look for is, on these sort of walk down algo stocks that are, by the way, pretty heavily shorted. I mean, prop is shorted at about 18%, I believe. Let's see. No, it's only 14%. They're saying it was. So the shorts actually come down a bit. Oh yeah, they were saying 18%, and I think that daily data is always wrong. So it is more like 18%. Cost to borrow is fairly high, utilization fairly high, no big deal there. IOVA, on the other hand, has a much higher short interest. I think it's about 36%. Yeah, 36% is showing there. Pardon me, guys. My voice is going out. I've been getting yelled at on the phone all day. Some of my angry tiny wing clients up my nose with a rubber hose, if you know what I mean. Yeah, some guy was getting on me too, saying, my bad. I'm trying, guys. I'm trying to eliminate those, but I'm not a professional, film and television actor. I'm merely a coal miner. I think I got the black lung pop. Anyway, so with IOVA, 35% short interest coming off of the lows. I mean, I look at stock, you're shorting it off a low. And also, you got something very positive comes out, like the lung cancer data, and the stock just continues to dump. They get their finances in order more and more, the stock continues to dump. So that it just shows me like the fundamentals and the price action are just completely disconnected. This was a project stock. This is a stock they just worked over, like, Marcellus Wallace got those two dudes who, had him in the pawn shop, like worked over like that. Worked over like he's going to do. I don't know what else I had here, but yeah, it was just some random notes I scribbled all over the place. I just look at a risk reward profile. When the algo has walked something down to absolute zero and then it turns, these are, if it does it with a stock that's just garbage, with it has nothing going for it, that really has nothing fundamentally of value there, nothing proprietary, nothing interesting. But these two stocks really, really decent quality names with real businesses, real, tangible assets, moving things forward. And what I like about these stocks is they're moving things forward, in a very positive direction, but the market is not paying them anything for that. Prop with this Bayswater acquisition, I think the fact that they've got this production going and got everything integrated in just a couple of quarters, I think that's really good execution for this little tiny company that's never done anything even approaching this scope before. And they have other bolt-on acquisitions they're making strategically all the time. Anytime they can find something adjoining that's going to be productive, that they can acquire, undervalue, obviously, that's their whole strategy. But their banks that are loaning to them are behind them. It just, the only people aren't behind them are the shorts, walking the stock down. Yeah, no, I was buying some at close, man. It's been tough. Yeah, double D's. Let's see. So far, you might see a pullback into 28, then bottom at 26. Then you get 10 to 15 points in 18 months. Well, I think it was already below 26 today, wasn't it? But yeah, SMCI, how much lower though? Where do you think it's going to go? I mean, and what do you think they're going to sell? A lot of, I think the market thinks they might actually sell, I don't know if they believe 10 billion, but even if it's like 9 billion, I think that's still, the quarter on quarter sales difference is going to be dramatic. Now, what can they take to the bottom line? Just on a technical basis, you're saying it's going to go much lower? Could be. I mean, that stock's been all over the place on 17, 65, back down to 20s. It just, it's been an absolute bucking Bronco maniac. And you have to play those swings or you have to hold for fundamentals, which will take a while to shake out. But if they can come anywhere near their projections for sales, I think the stock has a tremendous amount of upside, honestly. I mean, SMCI is trading well below last year's sales, and they're profitable, and their balance sheet doesn't look bad. I think all this regulatory stuff has been wildly overblown. There's been almost all smoke and almost no fire that I've seen. So you may be right. I don't know where the price action is going to go in the short term, but if they push it down way below 30 or something like that, I think shorts are going to be crapping their chonies coming into this ER if Uncle Chucky has something in his front pocket for you, like Butters. But I don't know, guys. I mean, I'm not at all worried about owning SMCI. I'm not worried about the AI bubble, the AI trade. They're saying, hey, we have these sales. They're already done and dusted. We just couldn't recognize the revenue. We're giving these projections. I mean, they see where their share price is. I don't think they're trying to overpromise at this point. I think they're giving, real guidance. And if they can achieve that guidance, there's almost zero doubt in my mind the stock is going to go up. But if it's a bunch of crap and they completely underwhelm on sales again and make a bunch of excuses, definitely the stock will get hammered down to, dust. So you might be right. You might be right, DMY Tro 8 Boyko. I'm already a SoFi person from 6 to 9. Grab is going to cross sell like SoFi, but in Asia, when you land at certain airports, the Uber sign says Grab. Huh. I honestly don't know Grab, to just be totally truthful. I'll have to look. No, the price action never bothers Jimmy. What bothers Jimmy with SMCI is the fact that they haven't hired a new CFO. These compliance people they bring back are like people from the old company that were involved in, at least around for a lot of the shady business. We need completely new people that have never had any association with this company, whose reputations are absolutely impeccable and have big names, big gravitas where nobody will fuck with them. And nobody would dare cross a line because they're going to, slam their balls in a drawer if they do. That's the type of compliance we need, pain compliance. You put 1 penny of accounting 1 inch out of order, we slam your testicles in this drawer repeatedly. And I mean like an old school drawer from like a high school from like the 1950s. Solid 1 inch oak, dovetail joints. And they bring in an angry nun to slam your nuts. Okay. I don't know, guys. This show's ridiculous. Feel like always saying like, you don't have any qualifications. Like, you don't even know what you're talking about. I'm like, I know. Imagine being me, right? Having to walk around, like this all the time. It's a complete shit show, guys. Struggle bus. The struggle is real. But I am man boobing at the very highest level that I can for you guys. I'm floating like man boob deep in a sea of losses day after day. I feel like my ship is sinking, but my man boobs remain buoyant, keeping my gaze across the horizon at better times. When me and Anthony Noto, my biological father, have matching windbreakers. We go to Disney World, maybe have a catch-up Foley Field, play a little flag football. I'd be afraid to play tackle against Anthony Noto. Guy would just light me up. Did you see Noto just light up that fat guy? Yeah, what are they doing? They're both too old for that. Yeah, but Noto's got great hair, doesn't he? Oh, yeah. Oh, is it dropping again after hours? Oh, you lovely. I don't know, guys. I can't worry too much about price action. These stocks go up, they go down. I don't want to look. I'm sure obviously you're telling the truth. Yeah, but so it's down 31 bucks. I mean, I don't know. Is that really a huge worry, given the trajectory of the stock? Kinda, but it's been, you see how much it's been riding off of this level all through here, all through here. So I think this is just banging it off again. Institutions are still, buying SMCI. They're still adding SMCI as far as last time I looked. I might be wrong about that, but that's what I look for too is another disconnect. You see that with IOVA, very high institutional ownership, with prop, very high insider ownership. So you also does the ownership structure match the rhetoric? Is this a stock that, like, Goldman slaps a dollar price target on IOVA while they're accumulating shares as fast as they can, which is not illegal. It's just unethical. I mean, I don't even really know if it's unethical. But yeah, super micro. Let's just take a look just for shits and giggles here. Yeah, see, I mean, is this a stock where institutions are bailing out, losing confidence, going much lower? It could be, but institutions don't worry about short-term price action for the most part. They worry about where's the trip end? Where do we get off? Not what is the scenery like along the way. They don't care. They don't trade on emotion. They don't need the money for Christmas presents. They don't have any of the same emotional pressures, personal problems, mental shortcomings that many of us retarders do, especially U-turders. U-turders are the neediest kind of retarders, thinking everybody wants to hear us blabber on about stuff. We don't even know what we're talking about. Hey, I subscribe to a couple of websites online. I'm an expert. Hey, honey, this guy's got man boobs. He's talking about stocks. Oh, stream it to the TV, dear. I'm so tired of Will and Grace. Oh, yeah, he does have man boobs. You're right. Making fun of my man boobs. It's hard to remain this hopeful and jovial in a world that, man boobs are so frowned upon. Shirts versus skins, basketball games, indoor pools, orgies. If you try to leave your shirt on at a key party. I don't even really know what that is, but some kind of like swinger thing. I don't know. What's up, Scott? I love it whenever Raider Scott gives me the crying, laughing faces. Makes me feel like some of my material's actually landing. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate you. You're very charitable. I wish you were at some of my comedy shows. I love that Mitch Hedberg joke. It's like, you can't please all of the people all the time. And last night, all those people were at my show. Rice is great when you're hungry and you want 5,000 or something. Yeah, CRISPR is holding up really nicely. I mean, it's just grotesquely undervalued for what it is. I mean, they have sales, they have partnerships. If somebody buys out CRISPR, I think it's going to be like $20 billion. I don't think they're going to sell for like less than 3-4x the current price, because I think that's how disconnected they think the value is from, and other people think it's overvalued. They think, they're just never going to get there with in vivo. I don't know. Their data is very compelling, but again, this stuff, it doesn't really mean anything until you actually get the revenues coming in. Until then, it's all a theoretical exercise and it's all quite subjective. Once sales start to come in, you ramp, you can do some numbers, you can find out what something's worth. I just don't think their program with, sickle cell is indicative of the scope that this company can achieve. I think it's more of a, test case, proof of concept type of thing than really anything about what the economics will look like. And if you look at the valuation Vertex put on that program, I think they overpaid, but it kind of shows you what the actual company itself with all their wholly owned, programs would actually be worth. So yeah, CRISPR, I think it's holding up well, but I think it's still extremely undervalued, down here. SMC, CRISPR, I think, just doesn't have any of the stink an SMCI does. Same with SoFi. People are like, oh my God. People are really going over the top with like the Anthony Noto and Crystal Point, like betrayed us. They lied to shareholders about dilution. Listen, they have to choose their words very carefully. There's lawyers telling them what they can and can't say. Okay. This is how publicly traded companies work, for better or for worse. And these guys aren't your friends. They didn't lie to you. They said we're well capitalized and we don't need money, which is the truth. That's not to say we don't plan to raise any money. I mean, I know people might interpret it that way, but that's what they have to say. They're not trying to lie to you. They're not trying to trick you. You know, all this stuff is public. I think it's very sound to raise money at 27.50. And if you're worried about the dilution, the stock always drops past the offering amount. You know, always, always, always. And so whoever, you know, Goldman was selling these shares to at 27.50, you know, I guarantee they're more sophisticated, more disciplined than you and I. And the only reason they're buying at 27.50 is because they believe it's worth more than that. But after an offering, the stock always falls below the offering price. This always happens. But it's going to recover very quickly, depending on the market. SoFi, again, is not the type of stock that can just defy the overall market, you know, the way like a, you know, an NVIDIA or something like that might be able to. Some mega cap that everybody knows, everybody wants to own. SoFi is not in that category. It doesn't have that level of institutional ownership, that level of support. It's still a stock that they can, any given day, can just trash it. But this wasn't that. You know, this was overall market. Robinhood down, a lot of growth names down. You know, people noted SMCI down, other stocks down. I think Hood was down. NVIDIA was up like a point, I think. But NVIDIA is very, very strong. I mean, their margins are just completely, I mean, I look at them, I'm like, that can't be real. These numbers, this growth, this can't be real. It's the most extraordinary, you know, growth story and profit story and margin story anybody's ever heard of. Amazon, people were saying Amazon looks very attractive. Amazon looks very attractive on a price to sales ratio basis. Their margins are pretty thin, so their PE is not, you know, doesn't look anything like their price to sales, because they're obviously got some of the thinnest margins of any Magnificent Seven stock. But I think Microsoft is a screaming buy here near 470. It popped up to 560 after earnings. Their cloud, you know, AI, everything. Just don't believe the narrative. Look at the ERs. They make a ton of money, and they're growing pretty rapidly, especially for a stock worth, you know, company with a 4 trillion market cap. Let's see, guys. Sorry, SJ77. I'm a little behind here, so maybe you've covered this, but the low price of oil for Q4 could give healthy gap numbers for the first time Q4 earnings release. Mid for Q4 earnings release in mid-February, meaning institutions. Yeah, I think you're right. They've hedged a lot of the pricing. So my understanding is they have about 80% of the production priced in at certain what they consider to be favorable levels. So I don't really worry about the gap numbers, but obviously institutions do, and that's a big thing when you publish earnings. So I think you're going to see over the next year or so that this company is going to, maybe in 2 years, start paying dividends. I think the people who know this sector have told me they're buying these assets really well. I don't know enough about it to say, but it's just people I trust really recommended this one to me, and the price action doesn't necessarily bother me because the algo's been working it over, and I think, you know, prop is just in the beginning stages of making that turn that IOVA already made and bottomed. But yes, I'm much more confident buying IOVA, something that's already clearly bottomed and is going back up. And I think it's going back up. Now, of course, it's very choppy between 2 and 250, but I don't think it's going back to 150. You know, the lung cancer data, extremely strong. So you see lung cancer data come out, game-changing data. I know it's a small sample, but very, very positive data. Stock sells off. I look for these disconnects. I look for these things that just don't make sense to me. I look for market cap on the stock below $1 billion. DCF model says it could be worth 10 times that. And they're not even getting into the pipeline. Pipeline joke. Prairie, oil stock, pipeline. So yeah, I mean, obviously, if the gap numbers follow along with the cash flows and the rapid increase in EBITDA, they're still going to have, you still have with these industry, my understanding is a lot of depreciation and, different stuff coming in that affects the gap number, probably will still be affecting the company next year. So I don't know how good gap is going to be next quarter, but I think cash flow will continue to improve. EBITDA will continue to improve dramatically. And I think for these small energy producers, those are the numbers that really matter. So I'm not any expert in this sector, though, and I don't claim to be. So sounds like you know a lot more about it than I. Perhaps we should have you on in Poco Moss. SoFi is the most conservative of the curve. It's raising money at the right time. I completely agree with you. Yes, none of us like to see our stock go down. None of us like to be diluted. But if you kind of take an overview, you kind of look at the big picture and say, hey, this is more than 3 times the share price we were just at earlier this year, below 9. And, these big institutions want to buy almost $2 billion worth of stock at $27.50 when the stock was not that long ago being held down at $5. I think management has to be sober. They can only say what they're going to say. I don't really think management's trying to trick retail. How does that? They know that retail investors, a lot of them shareholders, are customers. Their reputation is everything. I just think they're counting on us to be mature enough to understand that sometimes, you don't get what you want, but you get what you need. And I think it's just, Noto knows what he's doing. LaPointe knows what he's doing. And there could be things coming that we don't really know about yet. So I just think reserve judgment until you see how they're going to, if they just leave the money sitting on the balance sheet doing nothing productive, then yeah, hang them high. But I don't think there's any chance they're going to do that. They have a plan for this money or they wouldn't have raised it. And even if that plan is just make the company stronger, do more lending, advance technology, put out more platforms, more fee-based stuff, even if it's just accelerating their overall plan, fine with me. I love what these guys are doing at SoFi. Absolutely crushing. So I'm not going to second guess SoFi management until they turn in a bad ER, until they really mess up. I'm not going to take, PRs and timing that they might not be able to completely control and stuff they can say and stuff they can't say and, just say, oh, we lost all faith and they're lying to us and stuff. I don't see it that way, but dilution does not necessarily mean that stock price should drop as long as a range. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you're not giving away a portion of your share. You're selling a portion of your share. I did the math. It's like you're giving away 4% of your shares and you're getting $1.75 or something. So you're getting the cash back into the company that the dilution is worth. So it's really more neutral. All you're really losing is the fees and the discount off of that share price, which isn't really a loss. I mean, the stock may have retraced anyway. All this might have happened anyway, just slightly differently without the offering. And you have all the cash at the higher price. Now the stock drops back to 18 or something. Noto looks like a genius for selling. It was like, I can't fight the market. I knew what was going to happen. Go, oh, Noto, you were right. Oh. I don't know. What's going on? SRM contracting. SRM contracting likes the birds, likes the ladies. I guess he's British. The bids. No, I know what you're talking about. Net present value. Okay. Net present value of what? Dilutions does not nearly mean the stock. Okay, I got you. Yes. I had to remember your comment about I have to, like, when I read the comments, they're not isolated, like you have a narrative and it's hard to follow because it's just hard to follow. What is your time horizon? IOVA, I think positive data coming. I think this time next year, these stocks should be much, much higher. But obviously, IOVA, I think, is much more of a wild card because data can be bad. You can get setbacks and get a safety. I think prop, as long as they keep chugging away and keep executing and keep, pulling more and more oil and gas out of the ground, I think that stock's going to go up too. I can't say when. I say this all the time, guys. Like, if you imagine the stock market as a bus, like, You don't get to drive the bus. You don't get to decide what the route is. You don't get to decide how fast it goes. You don't get to decide where it goes. All you get to decide is when you get on and when you get off. All you get to decide is when to buy and when to sell. So don't be frustrated by the route. Don't be frustrated by the speed. Don't be frustrated by if it hits the brakes and slams into reverse. Just get off the bus when you want to get off the bus, and get on the bus when it makes sense to you, when you feel that it's low. Pick your entry points carefully. Keep it simple. If you think something is undervalued and you think they're pushing it around, manipulating it, whatever, shorting it down, walking it down, just either average down or just hold. You don't always have to be tempted to average down. Just lower your average. You can just wait for the stock to come back to you. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're already allocated where you're comfortable, don't feel like you need to chase it down. Institutions don't do that. Institutions might have bought IOVA at 6 and 7 and 8, and they wait for it to go down to $1.50, and then they wait for it to go back up to $50. Doesn't necessarily mean they're just going to buy all the shares they can at 2. They might have had a certain allocation. Now, some of them may. But you don't necessarily have to. You just have to see, where's the bus going? Is the bus coming back up? Maybe the bus is stuck in a ditch right now, but the tow truck's on the way. The bus isn't dead. The engine didn't blow up. Just a flat tire. Don't cry over spilled man boobs, guys. Never cry over man boobs. Never let them see you sweat. Especially man boob sweat. Might have to get into a man pond situation. Nothing worse than a sweaty fat guy. I got to shower like 6 times a day. Just keep it fresh. I got a special system. I rigged kind of a pulley system where they dip me head to toe in talcum powder. I'm just joking. I think talcum powder causes cancer or something, like cervical cancer. Is that right? Allegedly. There's some big lawsuit against Johnson & Johnson or something. I can't remember. Ovarian cancer. I just remember I was very surprised, like talcum powder causes cancer. Maybe I'm completely off. I probably am completely off, if I know me. They plan to pay dividends next year. Yeah. I hope it, I think it should have moved with the last ER. I thought the last ER was really, really good, but here we find ourselves again, all-time lows, less than zero. I don't think you shop at Gap. Yeah, they don't have my size. No, I shop at like big and tall and fat stores. If you've seen the movie Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield, I shop at his chain. Also, the stores John Candy was talking about in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Chain of plus-size stores in the Pacific Northwest. Unfortunately, it does us no good here. Yeah, I love Noto. Bayswater has 300 Tier 1 wells with another 600 locations, but they could easily add 1,200 more locations. That's 1,800 locations of Tier 1 or 10 years of runway for 3 rigs. SJ77 likes the stock, and quite frankly, I'm not one to argue with a man of his comport, his caliber. Could be a woman. I can't see your picture. I don't know. But I gather, like most of the degenerates in these penny oil stocks, probably guys, unless I miss my guess. Como stock. What the hell is Como stock? Don't dry over MB, should be shirt. Don't cry over MB, should be shirt. Dang it, I poured a cold mixed drink all over my nuts. Well, just look at it this way, Billy Jack. They can't shrivel up anymore. Weighing good. Scary thought. Gone from a full turtle to a half turtle. Just to a turtle eye. I can barely make out the turtle's eye. But anyway, yeah, just try to salvage. Just take your pants and just wring out the crotch area into your mouth. It might be a little bit musty, but you'll salvage that drink and you'll avoid the humiliation of a party foul. That's a delicacy some places. Got a guy who just farms all day and you just get a crotch cocktail. How we make this is we first infuse it with a rosemary foam. Then we put it under a glass dome full of basil smoke. Then we hit it with Himalayan black rock salt. And then we have one of our servers spill the drink onto Billy Jack's lap on his overalls. Remove the overalls, and we wring out the drink into your glass, into an old-fashioned glass. We strain it over his boxers. I don't know. Tell me if any of my obsession with, everybody's crotch is I'm just an idiot, guys. I don't know why I find stuff like that funny. It's just I find farts funny. It's just I'm just an idiot. What can I tell you? Oh, man boobs, MBs. Yep, man boobing for fun and profit. Yep, I totally agree with you. Man boobs are a huge part of my life. Unfortunately, I wish they were a little bit smaller part of my life. But working on it, guys. I'm going goggy. I think I'm going goggy on New Year's, but I should just go goggy tomorrow. I should go goggy tomorrow. The sooner you start, the sooner you get in shape. You ever notice really fat guys die young? I mean, I'm not, absurdly fat, but pretty fucking fat. A lot of fat guys don't make it to 50, and then no fat guys barely make it to 60, and no fat guys make it to 70, and less than no fat guys make it to 80. You see big women bumping around, like really old big women. Just do not see really old big guys. What are you on your like fourth set of hips? I mean, like a 75-year-old, 400-pound guy. I'm sure they exist, but I don't see them. So I don't really know what my point is, but my point is I'm going to start doing a psychotic amount of exercise that's either like when I used to do when I was young, and it's either going to kill me or it's going to get me in shape, because that's the binary choice I want to make. I'm just like, I want to leave everything on the field. I don't want to get older and older and just like, oh, I should have done this. I should have done that. Done enough of that. It's time, just stop making excuses like, oh, it's hard for me at this, I have pain that. People who want to do it and are motivated get it done. And people who talk about it and circle around it are just full of shit. And I've been a little bit too much on the full of shit side of the fence in terms of taking care of my health. So let's all go goggy together. If any of you guys are fat bastards like myself, let's take it seriously. Let's not, break our New Year's resolution on like the 3rd. I'm sorry, I got a gift of one of those giant 4-flavored things of popcorn. I like the cheddar cheese flavor and I like the caramel flavor. I don't like the plain. That's why you're so fat. No, it's good for you. It's popcorn. No, it's cheese powder and salt. From under cheese. From under Billy Jack's nutsack. Billy Jack and the Butt Crack Boys. Limited engagement. Let's see what we got going on here, guys. Sorry, I got to send a quick text here, guys. All right. Sorry, Carl. What's good? I can't ignore you. The great Carl Seamark, the mattress king of Chicago. I'm getting a Seamark mattress hat made up too, just to be weird. I just like doing stupid stuff. It's like, hey, you never know. Like maybe me and Carl Seamark will start a mattress company. The My Pillow guy did it. Guy's a raving lunatic. I have a thing about listening to like former crack addicts. I'm a former crack addict. Okay, I gave my life to Jesus. Okay, all right. Slow down there, compadre. Listen, chemo slobby. I respect that you're not on crack anymore, but I don't think that necessarily means you know more than the rest of us. The fact that you spent decades or years doing a bunch of crack instead of living some type of productive life, it doesn't. I don't think that means you necessarily like got perspective, and it's like it's so cool to have done heroin for decades. No, it isn't. It's cool to go to work and take care of your family, be a productive member of society. It's cool to not be cool, basically. It's cool to be a boring stiff. It's cool to be a nerd. It's cool to pull on the rope. That's what the Umpoko Moss audience is all about. You guys are the salt of the earth. Bunch of tiny wing hustlers. truck stop restroom operators, bathroom stall negotiators, tiny wing hostage crisis scenario people. I have no idea what I'm talking about. But anyway, I was buying more IOVA and PROP. So no, I don't think I made a mistake. I was a bit early, but if you look at it like Goldman, you know, some of their averages are like $8-10. They can't call the bottom any more than I can, but I can usually get a lot closer than they do. But just because they don't care, they're not playing with real money. They're playing with play money. They're playing with client money. They make money because they move the markets. They make the decisions. They know IOVA is not going to zero. And I think you're going to see in the next filings, institutional ownership in prop is going to increase a lot, because I think this ER really told the story that this company does have their shit together and they are making this transition. And it's not too much for them. It's not overwhelming them. Let's see, 36%. Yeah, it's really wild on that stock, isn't it? And they keep shorting it more and more from the lows. Okay, I could see maybe shorting it from 12 or 15 or even 8, but shorting the hell out of it from the ones? Just they want to take this thing to zero. I think they want to get some material safety event, some really bad news, some bad catalysts that just never came, and just basically hit the stock in the wing with a sledgehammer. And they wanted to do some type of inverted wing situation. The old blender. The old blender baby. The old prom night dumpster baby. If you know what I mean. I'm trying not to say, for that one guy who was saying I'm super annoying. I call him Super Karen. Ultra white. Kind of guy who likes a lot of starch on his shirts. No nonsense. He won't stand for any nonsense. Kind of guy who sees skateboarders, sees some kids skateboard and just goes over and just gives them a piece of his mind. Gives them what for. Shakes his fist in the air a little bit. Oh, his dad listens to this pod and will be on it. But I like crack whores. Billy Jack, those are girls that like to make something happen. Those are girls that are going to, pop into your car if you ask them. Girls are going to accompany you for a nice Arby's. They got the 3 for $5 or the 3 for $6. Maybe you can only eat 2. I know Billy Jack could eat 3, but willing suspension of disbelief. I'm not gonna malign crack whores. I mean, who am I to judge? Nothing wrong with double starch. Was that you, Tim A? Was that you complaining about my saying, How about, you know what I mean? Know what I mean? If I click like that, I'm doing it on purpose. Know what I mean? No, anyway, whatever, dude. I probably annoy most people. I don't blame the guy. Just turn it off and go watch something else. Why leave it? Why take the time to comment? I find you super annoying. I wish it was like Howard Stern, where they're like, the haters listen even longer. My haters don't listen long. They just leave a comment. Tevis 3000. Well, what does he think about what?
Let's take that offline.
We're going to have to take that offline, Carl. Tevis is not wanting to talk right now. I'm holding the bag on IOVA, helping make it. Yeah, I am too, Larry. But again, this is just, I would just caution you, like, the institutions are bag holding even bigger than us. I mean, if you look at institutional, just keep it in perspective. You look at institutional ownership, the very largest shareholder, MHR fund, 718, BlackRock, $9, Vanguard, $12, State Street, $12. These are their average costs. Vanguard, again, $13. Goldman Sachs just increased 40%. Their average cost is $8.28. Geode's average cost is $9.44. Bank of America just increased 55%. This was probably quite recently, so they're one of the only companies that was aggressively averaging down. Also, Palo Alto Investors was aggressively averaging down. You can see who's serious about it. Susquehanna aggressively averaging down. Other companies were selling. Charles Schwab, old Schwabby, You better get your own beer, swab. How many of you will agree with me that Captain Ron was a great movie? I love Kurt Russell, man. What's that other movie, Breakdown? Kurt Russell's a fucking good actor. And you're going to come at me with fucking, what's that guy's name? I'm fond of you, Sue. I'm going to say Kurt Russell over Kevin. What's that guy's name? Kevin Costner. I'm not afraid to say he's maybe not as handsome a man. A little bit more pudgy, a little bit slightly more of a pig face. Still handsome, though. Not afraid to say a man is handsome. Doesn't make me gay officially. Unless I engage in some type of a man-to-man. Whatevs, dude. Things happen in the big city. Things move fast. Oh, anyway, guys. Enough about my gay side. I think a lot of prop not going anywhere right now is tax loss selling. Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, this is exactly the kind of stock where people who bought around the merger were giving it a quarter or two and just lost patience, become frustrated. Their wings are so tiny. Their patience wearing thinner than a piece of rice paper encasing a delicious spring roll. I'm in a big spring roll phase right now. It's like different spring rolls, Vietnamese spring rolls, all kinds of spring rolls, Thai spring rolls. I don't know if they're all called spring rolls, but anything wrapped in that soft, white rice paper that turns clear and then stuffed with cilantro and shredded veg. So good. So good. So fresh. But I don't really like most peanut sauce. It's far too sweet. It's like, they mix like Peter Pan peanut butter with sugar. That's not peanut sauce. You have a nice vinegary kick, a little bit of spice, a little pepper in there, a little Thai chili, a little vinegar with some peanuts. Should be more vinegar, less peanut butter, more tangy, less sweet, like a sweet and sour situation. Do I have to invent the correct peanut dipping sauce? Do I have to do everything? Why is a fat guy tasked with saving the world? I don't know. I said I was going to do a short video. I intended this to be 10 minutes. 10 minutes max. I set a timer. What happened to my timer? It's been 53 minutes, guys. And I have said almost nothing. There has been no point to any of this. All I've done is avoided doing my 2-foot stack of mail for the big dog for another hour. And now I have to do it anyway. Because I'm a big dummy. That's my cross to bear, guys. It's like Costanza said, I wish I was intelligent. I'm not. No, you're not. Thank you. Anyway. Anybody else got anything to say? Talk about SoFi with Milk and Chris. They're on now. You three will vibe. Who's Milk and Chris? I used to go on with the Canadian FinTech Mafia, but they blackballed me. They got actually another chubby dude who's actually smart. Buys, actually, I don't know how smart he is. He seemed really smart when he was talking, but then he was talking about all he does is buy, Bitcoin and what was the other one? Space, whatever. I don't know. Everybody seems smart until they don't. At least I never seem smart. So I set a really low bar. But yeah, tell him to call Not a Lurker. Get me on. I'll come on. Talk to anybody, whatever. I don't care. Sure. I don't know who those people are. Steve, if you're talking about the big sexy, the big sexy Fred Flintstone, loves me some Steve. Is his nickname Milk? Steve Furio is Milk. They call him that in the hood. Oh yeah, that's cool. That's a cool nickname. It's because he's so pale. Because he's like so powerful. Drinks his milk. Like a Popeye spinach situation. Is he a huge fan of Sean Penn? I don't know. Yeah, I love Steve. Steve's he's one of the rocks that like made me just keep buying SoFi early. He's like fundamentally, he's like, I follow all these banks. This is ridiculous. His price action's ridiculous. I remember his articles, how incredulous he was. Like, he talk about pounding on the table. Yeah, I love me some Steve. I had no idea his nickname was Milk. But I did just see his channel the first couple times, and he had a relatively new channel, but growing quickly, as it should. I mean, he's one of these guys who's actually on this platform who's, I think been an executive. He's like the real deal. He's not like me. He's just some big idiot who just, gets on here and spouts off because we don't like our real job. This like is his real job, like finance, or, executive level stuff. Was he with like Bed Bath and Beyond or some other big company? I can't remember. But bottom line, he has the real background, the real deal, to actually know what's really going on, not just a bunch of, hot air like you get from un poco más. At un poco más, a little bit more is the hot air. Anyway, guys, I'm going to get out of here. He is rich and has people that get him milk hookups. Is this like the raw milk? The raw milk thing. You guys like that show with Eugene Levy and his kid? I forget, Schitt's Creek. I love that show. I haven't seen like the reason, but the early ones. I'm a big Eugene Levy fan. There's some weird mannerisms. Well, hello. Best in show. Oh, long drive in then. Well, let's just say we put a few clicks on the old odometer. That's the good one. Tell him that's a good one. We have to miss 3 payments. Nah, they won't put me on anymore, those bastards. I'm just kidding. I love Tevis, but no, they're like, yeah. My thing is mostly just shtick and jokes, and like they're trying to be really serious, and they're trying to get like guests and they have sponsors and stuff, and I curse all the time, and I say a lot of stupid things and make fun of people. So I kind of get it, But no, that's chill. I would love to go on with Tevis. Tevis is kind of like, he's more laid back, I would say, than some other YouTubers, but he's very polished now. His new sort of Latin playboy persona, sort of a Ricardo Montalban level tan, sort of a Zorro level mustache game. It's like a young Zorro, that Tevis. Oh, I'm so jealous of Tevis. Let's bring out the Tevis 3000 2.0.
That's a no-brainer.
That is a no-brainer, guys. When you can get the Tevis 3000 2.0 for a total cost of $1.99 on Amazon, or you have to pay the real Tevis and his team tens of millions of dollars to come in for a 1-week consult, it is a no-brainer.
We're gaining traction.
We are gaining traction thanks to the wisdom of the Tevis 3000 2.0. Guys, this system right here contains an advanced AI module. I don't know if you know that, but it mimics the actual thinking that you get from the real Tevis brain. So the Tevis 3000 2.0, this incorporates actually, I think it's 256 NVIDIA HB300 chips, and then I've input the entire life experience through a Neuralink hookup that I have with Tevis, and that's the beauty behind the Tevis 3000 2.0.
What would be the key learnings here?
Well, the key learnings here would have to be that we couldn't afford Tevis, so we bought a noisemaker online. Those would be the key learnings.
Let's circle back to that.
Yeah, let's get back to that because we've been talking almost an hour. So great to have you on again, Tevis 3000 2.0. Yeah, shout out to Milk, the big I call him the big sexy. I call him the big sexy Fred Flintstone just because he's got that giant head that looks like a huge boulder of granite. Got those poor little glasses, just struggling not to break under the weight of that massive cranium. Like if he just squeezes, he just has a tense moment. He squeezes these little muscles on the sides of the temples. The glasses will just break away and pop and just rips. Just turn green. I imagine Steve might be the Incredible Hulk, but maybe he turns white. Maybe that's it. He rips off. He's just white. He's like, he has no superpowers, but he's just already like giant, yoked. So it's the Incredible Steve, the Incredible Milk. You have the Incredible Milk, and the Incredible Hulk in America is green. We have the Incredible Milk. Blends in with our snowy climate. Wait, are you sure that's not a Sasquatch? No, that's Milk. What do you guys call that snow Sasquatch? The Yeti? The Abominable Snowman? I'm not implying Steve is the Abominable Snowman or perhaps a Yeti. Just has a big head because he's smart. There's a huge brain in there. Anyway, we love Steve here doing Pokemos. Guys, that's 59 minutes, 40 seconds. I got to cut this thing off because there's absolutely no people trying my underwear on a gas heater. Billy Jack's the best, man. You guys are fun. Anyway, guys, I got to go. It's un Pokemos. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Peace.